What's going on, everyone? So, Dave McMenamin was being asked about Dalton Knecht as well as Bronny James and the likelihood in which they would play for the G League team. And he said, I don't know about that yet, so I can't really comment on that. But I think all these guys are going to be in the G League at some point, the draftees, talking about Bronny James and Dalton Knecht. And now you have these reports going around that Dalton Knecht is expected to play in the G League. Now, look, start with Bronny James, and then I'll get to Dalton Knecht. Bronny James, I do believe he's going to see the basketball court on several occasions because, one, you're going to want to have that moment, that Bronny and LeBron moment, right? So I wouldn't be shocked if the very first game of the season, Bronny and LeBron share the court. I'm not saying for 15, 20 minutes, but, like Bronny gets in the game. Maybe it's even at the end of the game if the game is not close, right? Like one way or the other, right? Now, I would imagine if the Lakers are getting blown out, you're not going to want to put Bronny in the game just because, you don't want to, you don't want to take away from, Bronny and LeBron's moment with, but the Lakers got lost by 30. But I could see in a game where, Lakers are up 15 with a minute left. And it's like, hey, Bronny, LeBron, get out there. Let's go share your moment together. And, maybe they kind of get a moment where they get to throw a lob to each other or something, right? And, teams get it. Teams will let them do it, right? And so I could see a moment like that. But 90% of the time this year, if not more, Bronny belongs in the G League, right? I think Bronny has a lot of potential. I do think he's a guy that at the 55th pick can just be a rotation guy at some point. Not everyone has to be a superstar, right? Not everyone has to be the best player in the league, right? You need those hard-working, dirty workers, the guys that, are willing to die for loose balls, play defense, disrupt passing lanes. Bronny has shown the value on the defensive side. Bronny has shown that he is excellent at just seeing the floor, reading passing lanes, being disruptive, being that point of attack defensive guy. That's what he needs to carve his role out as, right? He needs to carve his role as that, more athletic, Gabe Vincent type, where he's just your point of attack. He's a guy that's just getting after it, like a Dennis Schroeder type, but hopefully better shooting the three ball, right? His shot has been atrocious, 0 of 12 from three. But again, offense can be learned. Shooting can be learned, right? It's the work ethic, the tenacity, the relentless energy and effort. Those are the things that can't, right? The defensive instincts, those things can't be taught. So I do think Bronny has a lot of the things that you want to look at when you're hoping that a guy will be great. Again, this is the 55th pick. If he was the 17th pick, right, and we got him instead of Dalton Knecht, I can understand a lot of people's frustrations and a lot of people's backlash. But at 55, most of those guys don't even last 2 years, right? So Bronny, if he can even become not a star or anything like that, just a rotation piece, again, rotation piece, then I think that that's huge. I think that is very important and very significant. But he does need time. He does need work. He does need to be able to develop at his own pace. Luckily, he is incredibly young. He's not, 24 or anything like that. So let him spend, a year, 2 years in the G League, really developing. You can bring him up and let him play on occasion. I think he'll get probably a handful of games for the Lakers, right? I could see him, when the Lakers play the Cavs or something, Bronny's on the roster, and he gets some action, some of those memorable moments or whatever. I could see, LeBron and Bronny sharing the basketball court. But once you get through that initial, Lakers just made history, blah, blah, blah. Once you get through that, then I think you need to, at some point, kind of go, all right, that's faded away. It's time to go focus on on developing the kid, right? And I do. I'm willing to be patient with Bronny James. I'm willing to see. We would be that way with any pick at 55. But because it's Bronny James, people all of a sudden don't have patience. All of a sudden people think he's going to be trash. But if Bronny was, if Maxwell Lewis, I see people defend more than Bronny. And Maxwell Lewis has been arguably just as bad, right? And he's in his second year. You're supposed to see those strides. But again, just like Maxwell Lewis, he's young. He's going to take time. Give him time to develop. Give him time to grow. Let Bronny have opportunity. But Dalton Knecht, now, he's the guy that, as far as the G League goes, I hope he's not playing in the G League, right? I hope that he's actually earned proper rotation minutes, right? Now, obviously, it depends on how the roster shapes up and what the Lakers do. There is question about right now, like if the Lakers were to stand pat, where do you get minutes for Dalton Knecht? Because Dalton Knecht is probably best at the 2. Now, you could slot him in the backup 3 behind, say, Jared Vanderbilt, but you also wouldn't be able to play him alongside D'Lo and Reeves because, I mean, defensively, that'd be atrocious, right? So you'd have to do something where it's like, you have like Gabe Vincent, Max Christie, and then like Dalton Knecht out there, and that's kind of like your backcourt and your 3, right? But, with D'Lo, with Reeves, with Max Christie likely getting more minutes and spending more minutes, could you technically move Christie to the 3? Sure, but I wouldn't do that on all the matchups. Certain matchups I definitely think you could get away with. Some matchups I definitely think, Max Christie could hold his own on the defensive side, but I don't think you could do that game in and game out where Max Christie playing the 3. He's more best slotted at the 2. Same thing with Dalton Knecht. So depending on how the roster shapes up, or if they do make some key trades and they do a couple things, like let's say that they do bring in a Gary Trent Jr. and they do bring in like a Spencer Dinwiddie, right? Then, again, do they kind of let Dalton Knecht spend the year kind of developing and then bring him in next year as like a key rotation piece? I mean, that's always possible, but to me, if like he's ready to go, let him go. I'm not saying you got to play him 35 minutes a game or anything like that. I'm not saying that you have to get a guy in Dalton Knecht and he needs to be a main focal point on the offensive side, or I like him in slotted spot minutes. You're giving him 10 to 15 minutes a game in year 1, unless he's just like going off and just killing it, right? Like, I see him in that like, maybe 6 to best case 10 points a game range, right? Like, is it possible that, because I've seen people throw out, oh, he's going to win, rookie of the year, and he could be a, 15 point a game. Like, I love the optimism. I love the, I don't ever rule anything out. You never know, but I don't think that that's very realistic, given that, like, you look at who's on this roster, especially like the rookie of the year thing, right? You look at some of the guys that were drafted ahead of them, they're going to be number 1, number 2, maybe at worst number 3 or 4 options. Dalton Knecht is more likely than not going to be your 5th, 6th, 7th option at best, right? Like, because again, like even if the roster currently as it stands, no pun intended, you have LeBron and AD as your number 1, number 2 options. Then you have D'Lo and Reeves as your number 3 and number 4 option, right? And that's not counting, what does Max Christie look like and what type of role does he play on the offensive side? Rui Hachimura, right? What does he play and what type of role does he play on the offensive side? And then, maybe Dalton Knecht can slot in that area, right? Maybe he's a guy that can come in and fill in that role and fill in that gap. So you're talking about your 7th, 8th option. If he can give you 8 points a game, that's huge for that kind of, production. And I'm sure he'll have that game. He'll have that game where he's like, 4 or 4 from 3 and the Lakers just keep going to him. And then he finishes the game, with 25 or something. And you're just like, wow, this guy's great. Like, I'm sure that that'll happen. I mean, he's shown the capabilities to heat up and go start going off, right? But I just think realistic expectations should be that, like, he's a guy that is probably not going to get the role opportunity in heavy minutes to really be that 15 to 20 point a game guy. Now, could he get there at some point? Absolutely. I wouldn't put it past him at all. I mean, he's shown everything that you want to see. I think he could be, and maybe even as soon as next year, be potentially a 15 point a game guy for the Lakers. Again, depending on how the roster shapes up. And I do think sooner or later he's going to get his opportunity and he's going to get his moment to shine. But I just look at these two guys, and one guy clearly needs to be in the G League, wholeheartedly, right? Bronny James needs to be in the G League. He needs to take time to develop and grow in the G League. Give him a year, 2, however long. I mean, even 3 years, he'd be Dalton Knecht's age, right? Like I think some people forget that Bronny's young. He's not 24, right? To where it's like, oh man, if this guy spends 3 years, he probably wouldn't be drafted. He's 24, right? Like, but to me, if Dalton Knecht is spending time in the G League, either A, he's not ready, which is, again, is fine, right? He's still a rookie. And as good as he's looked in the G League, there is no guarantee that he's going to look that good in the NBA, the actual roster. Now, I do believe he'll be around much better talent and will be slotted in much better positions. He'll also be playing some actual organized basketball. I think J.J. Redick's sets and the way that he wants to run his offense, I think will fit Dalton Knecht seamlessly and beautifully. But you're also talking about just better talent on the opposing team, better defenses, better defensive schemes. If he starts getting hot, teams are going to hone in on him, right? I mean, you even saw Austin Reeves and some of his struggles when teams started putting him on the scouting report, right? When it's big different when you're out there and you get to be the 7th or 8th option and no one really is thinking about you or cares, right? All of a sudden, you start doing some things. People go, wait a minute, we need to get on this guy. So, to me, I'd like to see Dalton Knecht make the roster. If he's in the G League, I don't think it's the end of the world, but that tells me that either A, the Lakers, assuming things stay as they are. Obviously, if the Lakers make a trade or something, then maybe it's more justifiable. But tells me saying things stay exactly how they are. Either A, it tells me that they don't think he's ready yet and he needs a little time to develop, or B, they're having a hard time really slotting him in on minutes. Maybe Max Christie's killing it, and Austin Reeves and D'Lo and all these guys, and they want to keep him fresh. I hope it's not something where he's so bad it's like, oh man, we can't. I don't think that would be the case. I think it's something where it's like they want to see him get a little better, and kind of get a little more reps, and they think he needs a little more time, or they can't really fit him in the rotation enough to justify him not getting reps in the G League, where he could be a focal point in the G League and really kind of get some prep. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you think that Dalton Knecht should spend time in the G League? Do you think no, keep him out of the G League? He needs to be in the rotation. Bronny James, do you think he should be in the G League? Do you think, no, just keep him on the roster, give him spot minutes? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.